we had kind of a high profile and somewhat important departure from OpenAI that has some kind of implications for some bigger issues that OpenAI and other AI companies are working on. So we saw an individual named Miles Brundage, who used to serve as the senior advisor for AGI readiness at OpenAI, announced his departure from the company after 6 years to pursue independent AI policy research and advocacy. Now, he published a pretty detailed explanation of this decision, and he highlighted his growing concerns about how fast AI was moving and the need for more independent voices to shape its development. This is particularly noteworthy given how instrumental Brundage was in establishing key safety practices at OpenAI. That includes their external red teaming program and their system cards. He was heavily involved in getting those out. And he basically thinks that there are increasing restraints on publishing research while at OpenAI, largely given kind of the high profile nature of the company. He also doesn't think he can actually be as impartial and effective as he could be in policy discussions while working for one of the major AI labs. And he believes they can just be more effective working outside of the confines of an AI company. Now, what's really important here, Paul, is that as he was outlining his rationale, he did not have anything specifically critical to say about OpenAI in the sense of don't work there or they're doing evil or anything like that. But he did say, so how are OpenAI and the world doing on AI, AGI readiness? And he wrote, in short, neither OpenAI nor any other frontier lab is ready, and the world is also not ready. So that reasoning alone is why we're kind of mentioning this particular departure, even though there's been tons of them from OpenAI. Paul, what did you kind of make of that? Why is it so important to pay attention to what he's saying here?
Yeah, again, it's someone from the inside who is literally in charge of this process saying what we've been keep repeating and like different research keeps showing is that we're not ready. We can't just assume that the frontier model companies building these things have this all figured out, what 1 to 2 years from now looks like. This is what I've been convinced of all along is you want to ask Sam Altman about the impact on work. He's just guessing. Like, his guess might be a little better than yours and mine, but, like, that's not what Sam is sitting around thinking about.
Right.
Like, and so when we get into these bigger issues, like, I respect the fact that Miles is willing to go out on his own and pursue this kind of research because these are the things that have to be talked about. Like he
Yeah.
said, "I think AI and AGI benefiting all of humanity is not automatic and requires deliberate choices to be made by decision makers in governments, nonprofits, civil society, and industry, and this needs to be informed by robust public discussion." And our opinion all along has been there's not enough of it. There's not
Mm.
enough discussion about the hard topics because I don't think enough people really understand how urgent this needs to be across these different areas. I think people just assume this is going to take 3 to 5 to 10 years and like figure it out or somebody will figure it out. And that's not how this is going to work.
Yeah.
So he said, I think AI capabilities are improving very quickly and policymakers need to act more urgently. I worry a lot about AI disrupting opportunities for people who desperately want to work, but I think it's simultaneously true that humanity should eventually remove the obligation to work for a living, and that doing so is one of the strongest arguments for building AGI in the first place. I mean, that might be the only paragraph I disagree with. But then he even cites Wall-E, the movie, like if
Yeah.
you've seen Wall-E, we're just basically sit around and don't do anything all day. Um, but this is what the people in these labs are thinking about, the challenges they're faced. And he's actually trying to be part of the solution where a lot of times it sounds like the solution is we're just going to build the AGI and then like, well, it'll help us figure out all this hard stuff. Like, what are people going to do for a living and how do we, how should universal basic income be formed? And how do we give people fulfillment in their lives when work is no longer part of, I don't think like we're there, like a couple years from now, we have to solve per
Yeah.
se this. But I do think we need to seriously be thinking about a lot of the issues he brought up. And, the fact that he's willing to leave and pursue them tells me that it is as urgent as we think it is, that people are solving for these things and talking more about them.
Yeah. We've talked about this in different contexts before, but I just am continually stunned by the lack of urgency, because if you look at this as an analogy in any other area of like technology, like what if 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we had been hearing all this chatter about the damage social media could do to
Yeah.
people or the disruption it could cause? Even if it was 30% right, we should have been talking about those issues, and it would have been a no-brainer to start acting on them, and we still haven't actually figured out that issue. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm just curious why there hasn't been more urgency, but it sounds like we are just hearing more and more about this from the major labs. You and I talked about this during our uh, AI Mastery membership trends briefing on Friday,
Yeah.
that we're just hearing so much in 2024 about AGI readiness, workforce preparedness, but not doing a lot about it.
Yeah. I honestly think like it's not even political yet.
Yeah.
I really think this is just, it's so hard to wrap your mind around change that's so transformative that it's hard for people to step out of their daily roles and the things they're already thinking about and say, well, what if everything is totally different in 24 months? Like, what if it's not just a bunch of ideas and theories and it becomes reality and now we're faced with it? I just don't think that the human mind is generally designed to think through those processes.
Yeah.
And I do worry that once this gets politicized, which is inevitable,
Yeah.
then you're going to be, what's that movie, the Netflix movie, Don't Look Up?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
it's like, yeah, the asteroid's
Yeah.
like coming. You can literally see the asteroid, and it's like, no, it's not. That's not an asteroid. It's like, no, it's an asteroid. Like it's really coming.
Right.
And I kind of feel like at some point we may arrive at that stage of AI where now it's blatantly obvious that this is going to transform everything, and then you're going to have a segment of society who just like disregard it because facts are optional to people sometimes. So who knows? I hope it doesn't go there, but it just seems like an inevitability that it gets politicized at some point.
So to kind of wrap this one up, one interesting related announcement here is that at the same time, roughly, OpenAI revealed that it's hired its first ever chief economist, Dr. Rani Chatterjee, whose job, they say, is, quote, to lead research to better understand AI's economic impacts and make sure its benefits are widely distributed. It sounds like from Brundage's post as well that Chatterjee also might be taking over part of the AGI readiness team that Brundage was part of. There's this element of it called the economic research team that's now going to be under Chatterjee. Like, is this a sign that they're getting more serious about taking some steps here to prepare?
Yeah, I think this is a good move. I don't know his background. I'd have to dig into him a little bit more, but yes, I mean, I think this is a very important move, and it's good to see they're heading in this direction. Hopefully, they're very aggressive in their research and very open with it. That's one of my concerns. As Miles sort of alluded to the fact that it's really hard to publish research these days that maybe run against the commercial interests of OpenAI. So there's some concern there, obviously, that maybe they're going to learn some stuff that's not going to come out. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a good move.